Good afternoon. This is Steve with Born Again Torinos, and I want to show you some progress on the car. This black is a guide coat primer. So when I block and sand this, it'll stay in the low spots if there is any. If it just sands off beautifully and I don't see any more black, then it's perfectly flat. But this area here, which is all beautifully smooth now, this is where it was pushed in, caved in pretty good right through there, and then up and through here. But a lot of this has to come off. And also the roof. Took care of those dents, but that's going to take 2 or 3 tries just to get that. I just put my first layer on here, which if anyone knows sanding, you put it on, you sand off 80-90% of it, then you do it again and again and again. So this will allow me as one piece, and you don't want to do it piecemeal. You want to do a section here and here and here. You want to do it as one and sand it as one and do the entire length equally if you can. If you can't, then you have to do it in pieces, like sand to the middle and just past the middle and then overlap and come this way. But another thing you should do, which I did, is tape off anything you don't want any filler to flow into, and then you peel it off while it's starting to set up, and then you don't have to sand out and grind out and dig out any filler that went into anywhere you don't want it to go. So it's just a lot easier, a lot less work. And here's this side here, looking pretty good. Working on the holes in the bottom. I have some POR 15 in the holes. Each door had a hole that was just filled with Bondo. So I ground it out, dug it out, cut some of the metal, made the hole bigger so it's into good metal, and then weld it. I'm going to come in from the inside and weld the patch panels in those corners. And I also drilled drain holes. You can see it's already working. The POR 15 is coming out. There's the factory drain hole there. That came out there, and then the drain hole I made here. So when he does wash the car or he gets stuck in a rainstorm, it's going to run out and not sit there and fester and rust again. Plus that whole pocket, that whole corner down here on the inside is all POR 15, so it's sealed in plastic. Nothing is 100%. I doubt Tony's going to be driving this in the rain, and this should be just wonderfully fine. Get the keys. I did do the trunk. Now, hopefully I have the angle of the GoPro correct. There was some areas that little pinholes that I had to deal with in this channel up in here. There was some, especially here where he did this, whatever happened here, if it got hit or whatever when he made this piece, there was some funkiness going on here, which I addressed. And so that's this had POR 15 first. That was sanded, and then the 2B, and then from the channel, all this inside channel in here, all the way up to about here is POR 15, and then this is all black paint here in each quarter panel. And I know that Ford, well, I've had a lot of companies, they weren't, especially in the 70s, they weren't really concerned about quality in their trunks, and so I carry that on in my cars. They're not perfect. The trunks are not perfect. This had that dent right here. It had huge Wang Chung right there, and then it had a bunch of dents in here. So he carried a lot of heavy stuff in here that was banging around, and the spots over there, That's silicone. That's fish eyeing. It did it on the POR 15 and it did it on the red, and that was sanded and used wax and grease remover, and that's just the nightmare of silicone. But there's the trunk. Now I gotta put the wiring harness back in, and did the back panel as well. So in here. This was no exception. This was grungy and just years and years of grime in here. What else was in here? These guys here, I took them out. Those will be painted separately and then screwed back in. And then put the gas door back on now that it's painted, because you want to paint it with the car, as well as the sight shields. So I'll put the sight shields back on because they're currently off. So those will go back on, but I have to fix them. Oh, I gotta mark this. Here's a prime example. When I find a dent, that's when I mark it. I don't know if you can see this. Right here. And right here. Yeah, I just found these guys too. They look like tool marks from setting tools down too hard. But I'll find more. And it's nice that it's semi-shiny, because it really helps in finding this stuff. But that's where we're at. I thought you'd be interested to see that. Progress is steadily marching forward. And I took the cheese grater to that lead. Now I'm gonna board sand it and make sure that isn't prominent anymore. But I think I still have to put another coat on this, just a paper thin, and sand that, because I want that's the star. The stripe is the star of the car, and the correct curve and everything. It needs to be right. And I know I'm not perfect, and I know that I make mistakes, but I sure try and get it as good as I can. So I'm actually looking forward to doing that one now, because every big piece that gets done is a relief to me. And I do it in sections too. So like I'll make sure the trunk lid is really good. Then I'll do something like, I'll do this panel and I'll work on that for that day, and I'll really work hard to get that right. Oh, another thing I was going to notice to show you was, I don't know if you can hear it. Now it's soft. You see these cracks. Hear that? You see it? That should not crack. That's paint cracking. That's because there's no flex additive in this paint. And when you paint polyurethane, the noses of Trans Ams and Camaros and stuff like this, it's just a rubbery plastic. You want to add flex additive to it so it won't crack when you bend it. And so he painted the whole car as one, obviously. And like I said before, his paint is very brittle, so it doesn't surprise me that it's cracking. And that's going to be fun to remove. But it needs to come off, because I can't paint on it, and then if it gets pushed on, the hard paint, the brittle paint underneath will crack, which will crack the paint on the top. Yeah, got some work still, but I think that's it. I think that covers it. Supposed to be a thunderstorm rolling in tonight. Doesn't look like it, but it says there is. And just a little stroll. There's couple friends asked about the garden, and yeah, it's finally coming along. So you rotate, especially anything that's nightshade, like tomatoes and potatoes and eggplant. You don't want to grow them in the same bed every year. So everything's moved. And I think we have 20 tomato plants, but they're already coming along really good. I already have some tomatoes. All these guys here are dwarfs. These will only get 2-3 feet tall, but they're from the Dwarf Tomato Project. And for the last 20 years, they've been developing tomato plants that don't get big, but they have a real stocky frame. They also call them tree tomatoes because big fat stem, big branches, big rugose leaves, and they produce large tomatoes on a small plant. Perfect for people who are stuck in apartments and condos and don't have beds and they have to use containers. But if you have a bed, it's just even better. But those are coming on really good. I think the Lucid Gems, yeah, these guys here, and there's a ton of them on there. That's this guy. And my ox heart tomatoes, and then we have the regular stuff, green beans and our squashes and our melons, of course the rhubarb. Yeah, this is a cherry tomato called Fruit Punch, and it's coming on. And then 3 in there and 3 in there. And the corn's down here, we just planted it the other day, and it is indeed coming up because the rows are going this way. There's corn coming up. Those are nasturtium volunteers. But it's coming out nice. The garlic, leeks, and then flowers mixed in. That's it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like and subscribe if you like this sort of stuff. And I'll shoot another video after I make even more progress on this. Probably after I get the holes in the door bottoms welded up. And then these the quarter panels of opera windows will be finished, as well as the back panel. And I have to tackle the door jambs in here, and I couldn't do that until I fixed those holes because it reflects on the inside. And then under the hood, which I'm not real excited about because of all of this nonsense. See the sheet metal screws and the bare wires running to, you know, the siren, and I don't know what all the wires go to. There's stuff that can be removed off here, like that big doodad over there for the factory cruise control, which never worked really well even when they were new. That would be nice to remove and have more access. You can see the condition of that firewall. It's just filthy. And these are black, which they're supposed to be. So we'll have to take this stuff off the inner fender wells and repaint that. Yeah, those aren't bad. And this is supposed to be here. This is your reservoir, your vacuum reservoir, and it's supposed to be, there's a bracket. That's not even bolted down all the way. That's supposed to go there, but he's upgraded the ignition to electronic ignition. So I guess he needed somewhere to put that. Air's not hooked up. And what's going on here? That's the factory green with overspray and primer on it. And notice down here that nest of sticks and leaves and pine needles and all that. That's the drain for the windshield. So everything runs in all in here, funnels down, and there's a hole down there that runs to the bottom of the car, so this will drain out. Well, it can't drain out because that's plugged, so I usually have to run a wire down and rotor-root it down and clean it out and take off any loose paint like this, because that'll clog it. There's tons of stuff like, it's going to clog it up. I'll take these off, take that off. He painted right over the rubber stops. I know. We'll get it off. Oh, and he painted the hinges. All right. There's the factory aluminum tag with the VIN. But yeah, these wires, I don't know how I'm going to get around them. I'm trying, I don't know. We'll see when we get there. It's a shame this air is all hooked up still in the way, even though it's not working. Yeah. Well, that's where we're at. So we'll keep moving forward, and thank you guys, and see you on the next video. This has been Steve with Born Again Torinos, and thank you very much.